thank you for being with us today. Please introduce yourself, including your name, job, area of expertise, and role in the event.
Yes, my name is Sverker Lindblad. I work with regional and rural development matters at the Ministry of Enterprise and Innovation in Sweden. I also have a role as a member of the monitoring committee of the ESPON research network, and in that role I'm also into the planning of outreach activities, which was one of this we had in Sweden on the post-COVID development in rural areas and urban areas.
How can events such as a pandemic affect settlement patterns?
Well, during this pandemic we can see that it had been in Sweden not restrictions and lockdowns, but we have had clear recommendations that you should work from home if you have such a work that it's possible to do it. And with this recommendation, quite a lot of people in Sweden really have taken the chance to work from home, and then it also have been obvious that it worked out quite well. It's no big problems. The techniques are there, and now it's up to us to use it. And after just some weeks, it was obvious that it's possible to work from home on distance also. And then also people realized that they not maybe have to live in the city center or close to the cities. They might work from other places too. So this have been really a wake up for many people, that you are not so locked to closeness to the office space. You actually can work from other places. And then another thing with the pandemic was that when you are spending much more time at home, you might need some more space at home, and that have been a reason why many people wanted to buy maybe houses in the countryside and work from there instead. So this has been the cause to new patterns in settlements.
Could you tell us about some of the differences seen in Swedish settlement patterns that are specific to COVID-19?
Yes, if we look at population statistics, we can see that migration patterns have changed, at least when you look at out-migration from cities. It has increased from bigger cities, but not to all types of rural areas. It's specifically directed to a functional area around the cities, a widening functional area, while if you just commute to the office 1 or 2 days a week, you might commute much longer distance than before. So this functional area around the cities have really increased in size. And we also can observe that it seems to be an increasing population in touristic areas of Sweden, where people have been before, and these areas might also have a little better service level and spaces for meetings and so on, and that have been an opportunity for people to move to such places also. They are attractive for living, but other places, other rural areas of Sweden might not have seen so much change in this respect. So it's specific areas that have gained from the pandemic, and that's quite interesting to follow and analyze.
After an event such as COVID-19 or a natural disaster, people tend to move out of one area and into another, causing a shift in population. How can planners and policymakers respond to these changes to ensure that territories have the support they need?
Yes, this is quite interesting in relation to what I said in the surroundings around the bigger cities, and that they are expanding, because this is also the reason for new needs from these people moving to these places. New needs on transportation solutions, new needs on service solution in these places, much more needs when it comes to spatial planning in a functional area and not only in one municipality at a time. So you have to think much more on planning issues in a bigger functional regional area than before. So this is quite challenging for these places that now are incorporated, rural areas that are incorporated to bigger urban areas. And it's a new development. Another thing is that many people have access to secondary housing and that they will use now for working if it's good broadband connections. And that's also places where you not normally plan for so much people living in areas where you have second homes for living much longer times than before. So this is also a challenge for planners when it comes to new settlement patterns.
During the roundtable, there were presentations from different actors and regions discussing the challenges of and responses to the topic. Could you tell us more about the conclusions and insights taken from this roundtable?
Yeah, the main conclusion maybe is that it's really a moving target, this discussion on what will happen from the pandemic. It's maybe too early, as someone said at the roundtable, to say it's post-COVID trends. We are in the middle of the COVID pandemic, and that's maybe the lesson that we have to follow what is happening now during quite a long time, I guess, to see what are the long-lasting developments from this pandemic. We have earlier had a so-called green wave in Sweden during the 1970s, where people were moving out to rural areas from cities. But that was quite a limited time during maybe 10, 15 years. Then things were back to normal again, and the urbanization went back to what we normally see. People were moving to the cities instead. So it will also be very interesting to follow and analyze and have research on what is different this time, if something is different. The access to broadband, for instance, is that something that is different? So it's the possibilities to keep some of urban lifestyle, even if you are living in a rural area. That will be very interesting to follow and research on.
You mentioned that you were interested in some of these findings. What is your opinion on these and what could be expanded on?
Yes, I will be very interested to follow what is happening in these widening spaces, functional areas around the cities that are actually expanding and incorporating rural areas to a much bigger extent than before. To follow what is the planning challenges that we have to use in this respect and take on these needs from the people that actually are moving to these widening regions around the cities. That might be maybe the most dynamic regional type in the future. It also will be very interesting to follow what is happening in the city centers. We are talking about so-called donut cities with empty spaces in the middle and expanding areas around the cities. And what will happen with office spaces that not are used? What will happen with the service in the middle of the cities? It's a big transformation that could come, but we, as I said, we are in the middle of this development, so we have to follow it.
And for those that are interested, where can we find out more?
Well, ESPON, of course, are doing research on this, but it's a number of both international analysis organizations as OECD. In the Nordic context, we have the organization Nordregio that are doing a lot of research and analysis right now on what they call multi-locality, that actually are exactly what we are discussing now. And also within Sweden, it's organizations, state agencies that are doing research on this. So it will come a lot of new information on the development in this respect that will be quite interesting to follow in the future.